Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to a second edition of Breaking News for this very eventful Saturday, the 28th day of September, 2024, as the fallout continues from the news of the death of Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, yesterday in Beirut. And so the headlines reflect this, so let's get right to them. In our headlines, the Houthis decided to send another long-range missile to Israel, claiming they had targeted Ben Gurion Airport. Of course, the Israelis intercepted it, so no damage was done. According to one opinion now, Tehran is poised to strike back after Nasrallah's killings, maybe abroad. In other words, they think it's a certainty that they will, attack Israel in some way. We just don't know, of course. Hamas's leader, Yahya Sinwar, decided, well, I'm going to relocate in Gaza following Nasrallah's elimination. Remember, we saw earlier in our previous breaking news this morning that the Ayatollah was moved because they were afraid were fearful for his life. Sinwar did the same thing. And of course, we have to hear from Joe Biden. He reacts to Nasrallah's death and Israel's marching towards victory by doing what? Calling for ceasefire deals again. So predictable. All right, let's look at these stories. First of all, headline number one, the Houthis. We targeted Ben Gurion Airport. This is from Israel National News. Yemen's Houthi rebel group claims responsibility for a launch towards Ben Gurion International Airport, saying we won't hesitate to raise the level of escalation to participate in defending Gaza and Lebanon. In a statement, they praised the strike, saying they are triumphing for the oppression of the Palestinian people and in response to the crimes of the Zionist enemy in Gaza and Lebanon. The missile force and the Yemeni armed forces carried out an operation targeting what is Israel called Ben Gurion Jaffa Airport during the arrival of the criminal Benjamin Netanyahu. The operation was carried out with a Palestine II ballistic missile. The statement added, the Yemeni armed forces, alongside all of the honorable and free people of the nation, continue to respond to the crimes of the Israeli enemy and will not hesitate to upraise the level of escalation in response to the requirements of the ongoing stage and to participate in defending Gaza and Lebanon. They don't write very clear, do they? Anyway, these operations will not stop until the aggressions on Gaza and Lebanon stops. Well, again, one missile that didn't do a whole lot, and so it was shot down. I guess that's their attempt to be part of this response. But by the way, Lebanon has a few missiles have been shot from Lebanon to the south, not a whole lot, when not really any damage was done. So it's not a huge response as of yet. Now let's go to Iran. And this is the question. This is an opinion piece from Ynet News, but it says Tehran is poised to strike back after Nasrallah's killing, maybe abroad. This is their analysis. Tehran has lost a key ally, that's true, and a strategic proxy in the region, raising the possibility that it could take direct control of Hezbollah's forces and arsenal. Hostage talks could gain momentum and all sides reevaluate their positions and interests. And that's kind of what's happening today. The assassination of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah on Friday will have dramatic consequences. The terror group operates as both a military and political entity with armed forces of 30,000 to 50,000 fighters. Nasrallah claimed 100,000, and an arsenal that includes rockets, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and drones, surpassing most armies worldwide, including some European powers. And that's true. They're the largest terrorist group in the world. He was the leader of the largest terrorist group in the world, and they are very well stocked with missiles and rockets and drones. With the killing of the group's leader and other senior commanders, now this is interesting. Israel's reportedly debilitated around 90% of Hezbollah's military command. According to foreign media, its mid-level commanders responsible for operating its weapon systems were largely harmed or killed in the coordinated detonation of Hezbollah's communication devices earlier this month. Despite this, the group still retains the ability to launch heavy barrages towards Israel, including precision missiles capable of carrying warheads up to 100 kilograms. That's 220 pounds, and we're very aware of that. On Saturday, local commanders initiated attacks based on orders given prior to the elimination of much of the senior military command. The risk to civilians remains high, prompting the IDF to enforce restrictions in central Israel, limiting gatherings to no more than 1,000 people in one location. Now, another headline here says Iran will not be able to look away. Well, we'll see. The cabinet was not informed of the plan. This is interesting. The cabinet was not informed of the planned strike against Nasrallah, but was notified that the IDF would carry out operations that could potentially lead to a regional war, as required by Israeli law. Although Nasrallah was not initially targeted, intelligence on his movements was being collected. The strategic ramifications are immediate. Iran is likely to retaliate as it provided Hezbollah with its arsenal of heavy and precise missiles and is committed to maintaining its Lebanon-based proxy strategic capabilities, which can disrupt any Israel attack on Iranian nuclear sites. And that's what they're there for. In other words, if Israel starts going after the Iranian nuclear sites, they've got these precision missiles that will attack Israel. And that, of course, Israel will have to turn their attention to those because of the proximity of all that. Now, Nasrallah, as the article goes on to say, was a key figure in Iran's so-called axis of resistance, holding a status comparable to that of the supreme leader Ali Khamenei. Despite Khamenei's seniority, he valued Nasrallah's expertise on Israel. To the Iranians, Nasrallah was not just a leader of Hezbollah, but a Shiite figurehead, integral to Iran's goal of spreading its Islamic revolution throughout the region and beyond. His death will likely compel Iran to seek revenge. Again, likely we don't know that for a fact. This could, again, words like this, could manifest itself in a direct Iranian attack on Israel or through its proxies in Iraq and Syria. Israel must also prepare for the possibility that Iranian commanders might assume control of Hezbollah's forces and lead any retaliatory actions. Iran may also attempt to target Israelis and Jews worldwide, as well as facilities connected to Israel. Hezbollah could achieve its international terror cells, led by Talal Hamia, who is believed to still be alive. The U.S. has offered a $7 million reward for information leading to his capture. Now, notice this is a bunch of speculation. We just don't know. Now, if you recall, we talked about this on July 31st when Haniyeh was taken out. There, remember, he's in Iran, and he's there at the inauguration of the new Iranian president, and he's assassinated there. The Ayatollah said, Allah will not forgive us if we don't respond to this, if we don't take response, and they went on, all these belligerent threats. Nothing happened. They did not respond in the least anything to what happened with Haniyeh. Now, will they respond again? They've already said something publicly. Well, we've got to respond to this, but will they do anything militarily? Because if they do, it'll give Israel the go-ahead, the green light to go after their oil fields, their nuclear fields, their nuclear facilities, and the such like. Do they really want something like that? Because they've just watched in the last few weeks what Israel can do when they're deciding on doing something. It's amazing the capabilities that they have. And like Netanyahu said yesterday in his speech, we can reach anybody, anytime, anywhere we want, anywhere in the world. And that sure proved to be true yesterday, didn't it? All right, now, coming back to Gaza, we got Sinwar, the Hamas leader. According to a story, he relocates in Gaza following Nasrallah's elimination in Lebanon. This is a report from the Jerusalem Post. Israel has been investigating 1 week ago whether Sinwar had been killed in an IDF strike in the Gaza Strip, but there was no positive intelligence to support such a report. The president's office in Gaza, okay, that's some picture they're talking about. Hamas's leader, Yahya Sinwar, has relocated within the Gaza Strip after learning about the Israeli airstrike that killed Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah, according to a Saturday report by Saudi state-owned television channel Al Arabi. The report also claims Sinwar's security circles have changed in the past few days, and that Hamas leaders have also decided to stop communicating. This is really interesting. Stop communicating with high officials abroad and have canceled all their meetings in Lebanon until further notice. In other words, they're going underground. According to Khan News, their communication is now limited only to writing messages. So I guess they get a lot of messages written back and forth, which takes forever to be delivered. And so we will see. So Sinwar is in hiding, fearing for his life, as he should, because if he's keeping score one by one, all these terrorist leaders have been taken out. And he's kind of the last one on the list there at the top, along with the Ayatollah there in Iran. Now, of course, Joe Biden has to say something here. So our last headline, Biden reacts to Nasrallah's death by calling for ceasefire deals again. This is from Associated Press by way of Breitbart. President Joe Biden issued a statement. Well, the statement was attributed to him on Saturday, welcoming the death of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah in an Israeli airstrike, but repeating his call for ceasefire deals in Gaza and Lebanon, despite Israel's advance towards victory. Yeah, Joe, they're winning. Just let them finish the job. And the full text of Biden's, I'll read it to you, statement, or the statement attributed to Biden. We don't know who wrote it, obviously. Hassan Nasrallah, the terrorist group he led, Hezbollah, was responsible for killing hundreds of Americans over a 4-decade reign of terror. His death from an Israeli airstrike is a measure of justice for his many victims, including thousands of Americans, Israelis, and Lebanese citizens. And that's all true. So far, so good. The United States fully supports Israel's right to defend itself against Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, and any other Iranian-supported terrorist group. Just yesterday, I, the lame duck president, Joe Biden, directed my Secretary of Defense to further enhance, they didn't name him, Biden forgot his name, to further enhance the defense posture of the U.S. military forces in the Middle East region to deter aggression and to reduce the risk of a broader regional war. Ultimately, our aim is to de-escalate the ongoing conflicts in both Gaza and Lebanon through diplomatic means. In Gaza, we've been pursuing a deal backed by the UN Security Council for a ceasefire and the release of the hostages. In Lebanon, we've been negotiating a deal that would return people safely to their homes in Israel and southern Lebanon. It's time for these deals to close, for the threats to Israel to be removed, and for the broader Middle East region to gain greater stability. The Times of Israel reported that the Biden administration was angry about the airstrike because Israel did not inform it until after the operation was in progress and appeared to have strung the White House along about a ceasefire. So they got their feelings hurt. Isn't that too bad, Joe? So that's the latest, what we've seen with these different stories. And it's again, these are all developing. These stories is ongoing because it's a shock to everyone what happened. It's amazing that Israel was able to pull this off. He's been public enemy number one for a long time, along with the Ayatollah. But it was tremendous they were able to do this. Israel is now actually having planes fly over Beirut International Airport, keeping any Iranian planes from landing, and basically taking the control. We mentioned this earlier, taking the control tower over and saying, if you're telling the Iranian planes you're not going to land in Lebanon, why? Because they're bringing weapons there. We know that even though it's a passenger plane, there's weapons that are always being brought there. So Israel's taking the lead here. Now there are reports too. People hope that maybe the ground invasion won't be necessary. There'll be the end of the war here because of the death of Nasrallah. There's also stories about who's going to replace him. We'll just see. This is, again, we're on a state of flux here now. None of us expected this, but now that it's happened, we'll just have to deal with it. And we'll just see what the end result is. But Israel, bravo to them again for what they're able to do as they've been able, in this last couple of weeks. All the stuff they've done, killing the people by means of these little handheld devices, these pagers and those radios the next day, and hitting, some of their leaders, and just a few days ago, hitting a big group there in Beirut and killing about a dozen of the Hezbollah leaders, and now taking out the number one man. It's really amazing what they've done, what they've been able to do. So we will continue to pray for God's peace to be there amongst these people. And the main thing, that get to know the Messiah, the Lord Jesus Christ, so that the gospel will be preached to them. They'll understand that God is allowing all this to happen. He still loves the nation of Israel, but they are, blinded now because of their rejection of Christ, even though many individual Israelis come to faith in Jesus. And so we'll just keep you posted here. If anything else happens tonight, we'll break in. Mostly, since it's nighttime there, nothing will happen unless some huge attack from barrage from Iran breaks out. Then we'll talk about it. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest on what's going on. So anyway, as always, I'm Don Stewart. Thank you so much for watching this second edition of Breaking News for Saturday, the 28th September, 2024. Until next time, as always, may the Lord richly, richly bless you.